shalom, my friends, and shalom, everyone, and my enemies too. Welcome to the neighborhood. We are here on this Shabbos morning, December 23rd, 2023, to talk with a singer, a performer, a writer who is doing a new off-Broadway show called Becoming Chavela. And this is how I pronounce it. I say Chavela. She will not know. She's shaking her head. She it's Chavela. Oh, she's Costa Rican. Oh, she's Mexican. There you go. I pronounce it Chavela, and that's just the way it is. But we are delighted to have with us in the neighborhood today. Her name is Stephanie Vargas. She is a 2020 Bistro Award winner, that is for cabaret in New York. And she has a lot to tell us both about her life as well as the life of Chavela Vargas, who knew people like Elizabeth Taylor, and she was a big influence on Pedro Moldovar. We got a lot to talk about. So welcome, first of all, good Shabbos to you. Welcome to the neighborhood, Stephanie Trudau.
Good Shabbos. Hello.
Hello, shalom to you. How are you? You look great. How's it going?
Oh, it's going great. Thank you. Thank you.
So is that
recovering from laryngitis, but fine.
Isn't it the way that just before a big show, there's like, oh no! Were you able to rehearse?
Not rehearse, but I got to a wonderful ENT doctor. She's called the Wizard of Oz. She's brilliant. And she fixed me up, so I was able to open the show on the 21st.
So wait, how did she fix you up?
Well, it's really, I mean, it's pretty simple. A steroid shot and, stuff to, no. Hey, I have nothing against modern miracle medicine. It works. It's really about swelling, and you need to take something to stop the swelling.
This is called marriage. No, I'm kidding. But just kidding there. So this is, let's talk about your current show first.
Yes.
We'll get back to this, because obviously your head is all right into, you just opened this show, Becoming Chavela. Now, you've been working on this for a few years. You've been doing cabaret situation. When did you first start working on Becoming Chavela?
Probably about 5 years ago. I started working on it. Someone suggested I listen to her sing. Well, I was doing a show. I was developing a show, women composers. Here's to the girls, and I was, trying it out in my living room with friends, etc. And a friend said, and I was singing Spanish songs because there's actually great Latina songwriters. Spanish women songwriters. So a friend said, you should listen to this singer, Chavela Vargas. And I said, does she write songs? And he said, who knows, but listen to her. And I have to say, she totally captivated me. The voice just spoke to me, everything about her. I started doing the research, and she hijacked my life. What can I say? Goodbye the other show, and it became Becoming Chavela.
Well, what was so special about her as opposed to other Latina singers or artists and so forth?
Well, I don't know what's so different compared to, let's say, another singer, well, another songwriter, let's say. But she was a really iconic force. Not a gorgeous voice. As a matter of fact, she was called the rough voice of tenderness because her voice was truly rough, truly raw. Her emotions were just absolutely right exposed. I mean, to the bone. And some people have said it was like watching her, it would be like watching her come alive, die, and then come alive again. And it's true. I've watched tons and tons of recordings, and she is fully committed to every note that's coming out of her mouth. I mean, it's truly it's like a performer, like, let's say, Judy Garland,
right.
Honestly,
for somebody like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like a full on commitment, total emotional commitment. Anyway, and the life was very fascinating. And when I say iconic, all right, here's this young girl who ran away from her home on a farm in Costa Rica at the age of 14, ran away to Mexico City, threw herself into a life in Mexico City of getting jobs and just finding her life. Fell in very luckily, I would say, into the crowd of Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera. She ended up going to a Christmas Eve party. And as she said, she didn't go home in the morning, and she stayed and lived with them for a year. Now, what did that do for an 18-year-old unschooled girl from Costa Rica? Kind of a hick. it opened up a whole world. I mean, they were the center of Mexico culture. Their home was the home to everybody. So she
And
met.
yeah, allegedly Frida opened up her legs too. I mean, weren't they?
They were, well, she says Frida was el gran amor de mi vida, the great love of her life. And I think I can accurately say yes, because Frida did write to a Spanish poet, and she said, "Today I met Chavela Vargas. She is an extraordinary lesbian. I wouldn't hesitate for a moment to take my clothes off for her. I think she's a gift from heaven." I'd say they got it on.
I was gonna say that. I mean, maybe Diego watched and did murals.
Who knows? There's lots of stories about what their life was like, but we don't need to get into that.
No, no. But was she what you call back in the day an out lesbian?
No, she was not truly out because she couldn't be. I mean, we're talking about the 40s, the 50s, and even though it was the most liberal country in all of Latin America, it was still, Mexico was still patriarchal. It was still Catholic. It was still what it was. So she could not be openly out, but it was like, as someone said to me, as long as you were kind of discreet about things, it was okay, you know. And she was running around in circles where a lot of stuff was going on. So it was okay.
But wasn't she performatively butch, or is
Pretty
that
much.
going so
Oh,
far?
yeah. Oh, yeah. And the interesting thing is, okay, she decided to sing a music, ranchera, which was, well, it's songs from the ranches. It's kind of Mexican country music, a little cowboy. Um, it was music that only the men sang. Only men sang ranchera. Women did not sing it. They weren't, I mean, it wasn't acceptable. Actually, women didn't even sing mariachi until the mid 1950s. And who kind of broke all of that open? Chavela Vargas. Because
Oh wow.
she was singing this men's music, even when the audiences were screaming and booing at her, she plowed ahead.
Oh my. Yeah.
The other thing she did is she never changed the pronouns. So here's all these love songs that men are singing to women. She just sang it with, the women pronoun. Yeah, so she was pretty gutsy, I would say, and very trailblazing. Now, how did she really get away with this? Great friends. And one of the greatest friends was her mentor, Jose Alfredo Jimenez, who was probably the greatest ranchera songwriter.
Wait a minute. Wait. Jose Jimenez, wasn't he on the Steve Allen show?
Oh, you're thinking about that other guy.
The other Jose. Everything. Jose Jimenez. You ever know?
Yeah,
Different.
you're thinking about somebody else. Yeah.
I figured it had to be.
No, there actually is this man named Jose Alfredo Jimenez, who there's a couple of them who were singers and songwriters, but he was really a solid ranchera songwriter. And he decided that he really liked the way she sang his songs. I mean, the story is someone said, "Hey, Jose, go to that bar and listen to that girl singing your songs." That girl. And he decided, wow, I like the way she sings my songs. So he decided to write songs for her, to let her sing with him. I mean, obviously, that says this chick is okay.
This is
She
this is.
can do it. And everybody shut up and listen. And they did.
So, at
They
what
started
point
to listen.
did she become iconic? At what point did she go from being an up and comer to having something of a name to being Chavela?
I would say probably by the 50s,
Oh,
she was a really big star in Mexico, huge star in Mexico. I mean, all the movie stars were coming down to see her. She was playing all the big clubs in not just Mexico City, but Puerto Vallarta, Acapulco. And remember, in the 1950s, these were the glamour spots of Mexico. She sang at Liz Taylor's wedding to Michael Todd. Obviously, she had
whoa!
cachet. You know, obviously she's a star.
How did she? Well, through friends, but was she and Liz Taylor friends, or she just was kind of so famous that they chose her to sing?
That, honestly, I'd have to say I don't really know. I don't know if they were friends. I don't know. I'm
Or
not even going to guess.
Taylor probably heard her singing. Oh my God, this would be great for our nuptials, if you will.
Right. Well, I would imagine that yes, because Liz Taylor was going down to Mexico City. They were all going down to Mexico. I mean, it was a big deal. Obviously, they went down for their quickie divorces. That was one thing, but they were going down because Mexico City was really the fun place to go, and Acapulco was like super fun place to go. Puerto Vallarta was, beach towns. They were great. They were great resorts, and it was like easy to go down from Hollywood to,
Oh,
someplace like that.
yeah. So the one thing that I'm a little curious about is, with all due respect, until I got the press release for
Right.
your show from our mutual friend Jonathan Slaff, who's a wonderful press agent that I've known for years. But I had never heard of her. She was so
Most
famous. I mean, Carmen Miranda. We all know Carmen Miranda, and there's some, Carlos Gardel from Argentina. He's kind of. How come, with all due respect, 100 people on the street, one might have heard of Chavela Vargas? What happened?
Well, I don't think it's true. She is not well known by, let's say, the non-Latin population of America.
Yeah.
To be rude to say the gringos. She's not, she's not,
All
no.
right. No.
She is known certainly in the Southwest. She's known, I mean, I'll run into Mexicans, even young Mexicans, and they go, of course, Chavela. My parents always listen to Chavela, or they know her. Why isn't she famous in America? I don't know why. Although she played at Carnegie Hall in 2003, and it was standing room only. I mean, it was a sellout house.
Oh,
So
wow.
there were enough people in New York who certainly knew of her. She just didn't cross over. And I think, honestly, some of it is because she always remained truly authentic. She sang ranchera in the truly authentic way. She didn't gussy it up. She didn't gussy up her clothing. She didn't wear fancy clothes. She didn't wear bananas on her head like Carmen Miranda. She didn't do those kind of movies. She was a lousy actress, by the way. I've seen some movie clips of her, like from the early 60s. She's terrible.
Oh, yeah.
But who cares? She
Well,
could
it's good
sing
to
a
say.
song like no
And in
one.
2003 at Carnegie Hall, she incorporated hip hop into her
Oh, no, 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 no.
rap
No.
song. Or I mean, no, she still was doing what she did from the beginning. How?
She always did what she did. She always dressed in her particular clothing, which was a little asexual, was, like I said, not glamorous. She wore like this poncho called a jorongo, very Mexican looking. She wore pants.
Oh,
So she was never doing the sex thing at all.
I
Um,
feel sorry for her then. No, I'm kidding.
well, you know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah,
she
yeah, yeah.
wasn't trying to be sexy, like a hot Latin. Never, never, never. She truly did what she did, and she sang just with two guitarists. So she's again did this music in its most authentic way. I think it would have been hard. Johnny Carson was probably never going to have her on his show. I just, just don't
Yeah.
think so. And she sang Spanish. Um,
Well,
she
yeah.
never None of those songs were ever translated. She didn't speak English. She only spoke Spanish.
Oh, wow. Okay. Even
Yeah.
though all these stars were coming down to see her, and then it was a Mexico, California thing. She didn't. Uh, well, let me ask you, in your show, which is called Becoming Chavela, which is running from now through January 7th at Theater from the New City downtown. What is your take on? You do a bio musical with her songs and stuff. Do you have an arc? Do you have sort of like the story of her life? What is that?
Okay, so my arc and the story of her life. Yes. First of all, I begin the show with my mother's origin story because my mother was Puerto Rican. My mother came to New York City when she was 4 years old. Um, and I wanted to start with that because it's kind of an immigrant story as well. So I wanted to make that connection of a circle of a little girl coming to New York City. And then that jumps to me, a little girl growing up in the Bronx, listening to my mother's Latin music, hearing this Spanish, hearing this music. And then along the way, discovering that all of the songs that I thought were Puerto Rican, because the big pop songs, Latin pop songs of the 50s and the 60s that we all think are Puerto Rican songs, most of them really were composed by Mexican songwriters. They
Wow.
were the great songwriters. So
Huh.
that was
So
very
you
interesting.
give me like the most album La Bamba was that Mexican?
That's Mexican. Of course it is.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's Mexican.
La
I mean, I
Cucaracha,
mean, you go
which
on
is
it.
like
Bésame mucho. Everybody knows Bésame mucho. Mexican song.
wow.
What a difference a day makes is actually a Mexican song. Cuando vuelva a tu lado. and it's a Mexican song. So I start with that in the show just to give this sense of like, wow, wake up, listen to what's going, this
Yeah.
music and what it did for me. And then looking at all of this music, I came across ranchera and I came across Chavela Vargas. And her singing was such a knockout. I had to sing the songs. I had to tell her story. As a friend said to me once, she said, "You got to give this woman oxygen. She is incredible."
Oh,
So that's what so that's where the show goes. And then I basically take it through her life. A young girl running away to Mexico City, meeting Jose Alfredo Jimenez, getting her chance to sing the music she wants to sing, make a life that she wants to make, and then meeting Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera. And, and at one point she goes to Cuba and she has a whole life for 4 years in Cuba, which is pretty interesting. Comes back from Cuba. She was a terrible, terrible alcoholic. Almost, yeah. I mean, because it's a whole drinking world, and it's like the women, are sitting there drinking with the men and matching them glass for glass, bottle for bottle. She was a terrible alcoholic. Got to the point where she had to stop because she couldn't sing, she couldn't work. As she said, she was falling down. So she disappeared for 15 years. People thought she was dead. I mean, she really just
really?
ran off to the mountains and disappeared. Stopped drinking, came back into Mexico City, got offered a job to sing again at the age of 72 after being gone for 15 years. And Pedro Almodovar, who the great Spanish movie director, he had been playing her singing in his movies for years. He adored her. He called her his muse. When he realized she was still alive, he got in touch with her. He just, he decided this was his chance to really to meet her in person, and he decided to produce her. So he introduced her to audiences in Spain and France, throughout South America. He's the one who really gave her comeback, her second act, and made her a world star. She'd always been a Mexican star,
Okay.
but because of Pedro, she became an international star.
And also at that age, I'm sure her voice even more fit the ranchera style. The gravel was now lived in rather than a 20-year-old making believe she had gravel.
No, she was totally living in her voice. She said, I sang songs of my memories, my love, my life, and I never did anything halfway.
Wow. By the way, we are about halfway through our chat with Stephanie Trudeau, who is doing a show called Becoming Chavela at Theater for the New City. Please get your tickets. It's running from now through January 7th. Now, I thought at first, did you have an opening night or was opening night the 21st? I thought.
Opening night was the 21st. We run Thursday, Friday, Saturday at 8 p.m. and a Sunday matinee at 3. So it's this weekend, next weekend, and then that first weekend in January.
I mean, it is a musical. So what do you have accompanying you? You've got a little.
I actually I have a guitarist who's wonderful, wonderful. He's from Argentina. And I also have a percussionist because I do some American songs, so I'm not being totally faithful to Chavela using percussion, but it sounds damn good to have the percussion.
Now, speaking of American songs, because I've been talking, monomaniacally about this one person, but you've had a life of doing some other things, including. I'm going to do a little sidestep on this, but the producer of this show, Dave, one of the first books, grown-up books that he ever read, after reading like children's books and the Hardy Boys and things like that, is he was a Bob Dylan fanatic.
Ah,
I got to Bob Dylan in junior high school, and he read the first big bio of Dylan by Anthony Scaduto called
yes.
Dylan. And it was like a 500-page book, and he never read it, but he was obsessed, so he read it. You worked with Scaduto.
Well, I was married to him. Yes. We were married almost 40 years. Anthony Scaduto was my husband.
Okay. I should have done a little better research on that.
No. Why would no? It's perfectly okay. No, Tony and I met in the like 71, 72, and he had just published the Bob Dylan book. It's called Bob Dylan, An Intimate Biography, and it is the first serious biography of Bob Dylan. Probably one of the it's probably one of the first serious biographies of any pop, pop artist. So was there, and the thing is, Tony was a journalist. He was working at the New York Post, and he decided to do this as a journalistic treatment, not the usual kind of fanzine thing. So he did all this amazing research. He did these amazing interviews, and it's quite a wonderful book. Now, fast forward, just before Tony died, and he died 7 years ago. We discovered in the basement all of his interview tapes on reel to reel, really old school retro. And we were trying to figure out what to do with it. He wasn't feeling very good he was at the end of his life. And he just said, I don't know. I don't care what you do with it. I decided to do something with it. So I had them digitized. I then had them turned into Word documents. I got a publisher, University of Minnesota Press. And this was largely done after my husband died. And I edited all of this 250,000 words down to 125,000 words. And it's the interviews, it's the rough material, it's what made the book, Bob Dylan, An Intimate Biography. But the best thing about it, I feel, is it's the art of the interview. For anybody who's at all interested in like what goes on in the process of interviewing somebody, this is the heart. And Tony was a master interviewer. So the book is still available. It's University of Minnesota Press, and it's called The Dylan Tapes.
Now, let me also ask you, though, you have this material digitized. Did you explore the possibility of having a concurrent website where this material could be listened to and downloaded, or would you have to go through copyright shit because it's people's voices, famous people, and all of that?
I'm not sure so much. I'd have to talk to an intellectual property lawyer about that. I had no problem with writing the book because those interviews had already been given. So in the written word, that's one thing. I'm not sure about the audio. And I have to tell you, I was also working on Chavela at that time. And it's, I mean, how much can you juggle? Or honestly, there's only 24 hours in a day.
And my day, 14 and a half, because we go on a Jewish calendar thing.
Okay.
It's rather different. We're talking with Stephanie Trudeo, by the way. Speaking of which, you mentioned earlier also, I know we're flipping all around.
Oh, it's okay.
A Bronx girl, if you will. You worked at a museum, the Bronx Museum, for like 2 years. You have to have some crazy stories, I'm assuming.
Not crazy. I mean, it was a lovely place to work. Well, I was in charge of visitor services and the gift shop, given a budget of like 10 cents. And how do you fill it up with items to sell? What I did though is I went to the Bronx cultural the artists, what is it like the Lower Manhattan Cultural Center, or anyway, for the Bronx. Every borough has its cultural organization, and they had a group of artisans and artists that they were working with. So I got them to just consign stuff into the shop, and I was able to fill up the shop with this wonderful, wonderful artwork done by all these different artists. And I made it, had to be Bronx artists. So that was sort of, yeah, I worked there for 2 years, and I really enjoyed working in the visual world, which was kind of new for me because I'm a singer and an actress. But I came to that because just before that, I had a Fulbright in Italy for 9 months.
Oh.
And I was working in Italy on three saints feasts, looking at the music, the artwork, the foods, the whole cultural traditions, and comparing it to the way these feasts are celebrated in Italy and the way they're celebrated by the Italian American communities.
So
It
was
was a
that a master's thesis or dissertation? I mean,
no. I had just applied for it. I thought I want to go to Italy and I want to get a Fulbright. And my son said, "You'll never get it. It's like the hardest place to get a Fulbright."
Yeah, right.
I did it. I wrote a pretty good, I guess I wrote a good proposal
If you
because
want
I
to go
got
to Suriname or Antarctica, sure, they'll send you over. But you want to go to Italy, it's like,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. How about Hawaii? Yeah, no, no. Good for
No,
you.
I said that's the only place I want to go. If I don't get it, I don't get it. But I got it. And so I had 9 months there working a little bit out of my field. I mean, there was still music involved, but I was edging more towards some visual art. So when I came back to New York, I got that job at the Museum of the Bronx Museum of the Arts, working in visual stuff. And one of the things that I do in this show, I've added this visual component. I made the show very multimedia. So when I am talking about Chavela and I'm talking about her life and talking about Frida and talking about Mexican art, I have the images in back of me. And I've got them projected on these two beautiful screens that are framed.
Right.
And so it illuminates what I'm saying, what I'm singing, and it illuminates the life. And I
Well,
just wanted to
speaking
add that component.
of the life of Chavela and becoming Chavela, you're working
Absolutely.
on a short movie, or is it finished? Is it
Oh,
still
I
a
did.
version of
I
this?
did a short movie. It's finished, and there are segments of the film also in the show. I made that film kind of like towards the end of COVID. I mean, what were performers doing during COVID? And for me, it was horrible. I won a Bistro Award in 2020. Well, not, I mean, that makes it sound like sort of this self-absorption. No, I mean, it was awful for everybody. But I had just won the Bistro Award in 2020 in March,
Was it for
performed
this show? Was it for this?
for
Was it
this show,
yeah.
and the entire world closed down for 2 years. And then, we were all just like sort of wandering around in the desert trying to figure out what to do. And a friend of mine said, she's a film director. She said, I'd like a project. I have, cinematographers who would like a project and blah, blah, blah. So we put together a 17-minute film that's been shown at a lot of film festivals. It's won some awards. And as I said, the beauty of it is that I've taken segments of the film and that's in the show as well.
Now, we've been talking with Stephanie Trudeau here in the neighborhood. Just got a couple more questions for her, but of course, you need to see Becoming Chavela, not just the movie, but I don't know, can people see the movie anyway yet? Is it posted somewhere or is it?
No, I mean, no, it's not really posted. It's not like, yeah, on
Right.
YouTube or something.
Yeah, and certainly don't have it posted while you're doing a live show over at Theater for the New City. So, what happens for you after January 7th? Are you going to take this to other places? Are you working on other projects? What's happening with you?
I am taking this to another place. I'm taking it to Borrego Springs, California. It's the desert. It's near Palm Springs. And the reason I'm taking it there is because my film was in the Borrego Springs Film Festival last November, or January. I'm sorry, it was last January. And after the film festival was over, and I had won an award at that film festival, I said, guys, you should let me do my show. I mean, like the real deal. So January 19th, I'm performing in Borrego Springs. And after that, I think I'm going to take a little break because I've been going since the middle of the summer. I did the show in Fire Island. Then I did the show at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival for 3 weeks in August. Now I'm doing it at Theater for the New City, which is thrilling, off Broadway. Then I go to the desert in California, and I'm not so sure. I can
How does
tell you,
Edinburgh is so mad, and I haven't been, but so I've heard it's so crazy, and so 1,000 shows competing against each other. How was it
it
for
was fantastic. I have to say, and the audience just kept building and building and building. Um, People were loving it. It's a great place to really work on your material and work on what you're doing because you are doing it for all kinds of different audiences. You just never know who's going to walk in and watch you. Um, and it's a pressure thing. You go in, you do your show, you get yourself out of the theater because it's one person after another,
yeah?
and you try to see as much as you can because there's so much great theater and great singing and just fantastic. It's
And
Edinburgh is an
is
amazing place.
Because you have to spend your part of your days papering and going not paper, but
Yes.
making people come see mine as opposed to that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. I mean, how
Oh,
much
yeah.
time was spent like marketing yourself?
Yes, you go to like, the Mexican restaurants, you go to the bars, I found the gay bars, I found the Mexican restaurants, whatever market I thought was going to make it, I was out there. Yeah, that's exactly what you do.
Absolutely.
Market, market, market.
One more question for Stephanie Trudeau, our guest in the neighborhood, because as you may have noticed, I'm of the Jewish persuasion.
Yes.
You seems you were looking over at the world of the saints, and then you taught music in a Catholic school for a certain period of time. What is your thing with religion? Are you Catholic? How Catholic are you? How Catholic were you brought up? What's your religion thing?
Well, I was raised a Catholic. I went to Catholic school for 8 years as a child. I'd have to say I'm totally a lapsed Catholic. I'm not religious. I think I have certainly an appreciation for anybody and everybody's. I'm inclusive, um, but I do not practice a religion myself. Um, but yeah, I am accepting of whoever and whatever. I firmly believe in separation of church and state.
No, but when you mentioned that you were specifically studying how the feast days are done, I mean, I thought there was more.
Well,
How is
again, I'm looking at as I look at a lot of stuff just from an artist's point of view. So, I have a great appreciation for faith, and I have a great appreciation for what it has inspired. And it inspires amazing things and amazing art. You know, a lot of other stuff, I can let that go. But yeah,
I mean, without faith, we wouldn't have Mel Brooks' History of the World Part Two. So there you go. We wouldn't have no Part One. Anywho, we've been talking with Stephanie Trudeau, who is the creator, the writer, and the singer and the performer of Becoming Chavela, which is running now through January 7th at the Theater for the New City. Is that on 10th Street? What is that, 150?
yes, it's on First Avenue and 10th Street.
First Avenue, 10th. And people can get their tickets at the Theater for the New City website or
Or they can just walk in and get it at the door. Yeah, either.
remind me, what is your website? I should have taken this down.
Becomingchavela.com.
Coming Chavela.
Very simple.
Chavela, because you can certainly get a link there
Yeah.
and get your tickets there too. So my last question for you is, do you have a favorite Chavela song? And can you sing a snatch, if you don't mind me using that word, a snatch of it for us?
Oh, okay. I mean, I love all of her songs, but let me sing. No, no, no. I will sing one of the songs that I closed the show with, and it's about her passion for life and for singing. She says to return to a passionate life that makes me crazy, that tortures me. I'm drunk with this life. I love and die for this life. That was what she was about. So it goes like this. Este amor apasionado anda todo aborotado por volver. Voy camino a la locura, aunque todo me tortura. Sé que nos dejamos hace tiempo, pero se llegó al momento de perder. Tú tenías mucho razón, le hago caso de corazón y me muero por volver. Y volver, volver a tus brazos otra vez. Llegaré donde estés, yo sé perder. Quiero volver, volver. Volver.
And may I just add, arriba, arriba, and coming back to
Viva Chavela.
Viva, Viva Sophie Trudeau. Oh, it's not so. I'm sorry, Stephanie Trudeau. All week long, I've been thinking of either Sophie Marceau or Justin Trudeau, or the other time, I'm trying to get the names together. Stephanie Trudeau, whom you can see in Becoming Chavela. Thank you, Stephanie, which has been absolutely delightful. And everybody, please go to becomingchavela.com to get your tickets to go see her at Theater for the New City and hear more singing like that. I know you're going to want to. Shalom to you. Most happiness, most success, and I hope your throat stays, because now you're in it. You're in it. No more steroids. You got to do it for you. So congratulations and much more success with the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Shalom.
Shalom Dios.
Sí. Shalom Dios. Bye-bye.
Oh, yes.